And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bubba the Bloom, episode 282, your second annual Bubba and the Bloomies. That's why we have these amazing outfits on tonight to hand out some hardware that you will not get on any other baseball, fantasy baseball, any other show, pretty much. Only us special folks will come up with these awards for you. Before we get to all that shenanigans that will take place, you can find me on Twitter at BDN, the podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod, and on Patreon at patreon.com/Bubba Bloom, and my co-host, as always, on Twitter at RyanBHQ. Ryan Bluefield, how we doing, my friend?
Doing good. Looking, I feel like I'm looking dapper, not quite as dapper as you are, but it was funny. I came down. I put the boys to bed tonight, so I put them down to bed and then changed into my tuxedo T-shirt. Walked downstairs. Wife is like, "What the fuck? What is going on?"
Seems like I already knew you're a nerd, but what is this?
So that was had to explain that one, but once I got past that, got downstairs, it's showtime. I'm excited for this show. This is not your typical fantasy MVP, fantasy Cy Young. This is our spin, our goofy spin on just some random awards that we feel are noteworthy for 2025. So I'm excited for tonight, man.
Yep, most definitely. Andy Splinter in the chat says, "Looking good, gentlemen." He came up with this idea last year.
Yes, he did.
Came up with it. So, yeah, we are getting after it here. We added a few tweaks. We actually, Ryan put out a post to the Patreon and put it in the Discord. A lot of nominations from the listeners have come into play, which is great to see. So there'll be a lot of interesting names thrown out there, is the best way I'll say it.
I think we got, shout out to the Discord. We did not do this last year, but I figured it was like, we have the categories because we talked about this on Tuesday. And I was like, why not throw out some, see if we get some nominations from the crew. You wrote them all down on the sheet. I think we have over 100 nominations from folks in the Patreon and the Discord, which is really cool. So we will shout out probably all of those nominations as we go through each award. How many awards do we have tonight? Like 10, 12, 13,
1,
something?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
As
7,
I make
8,
you
9,
count
10,
on
11,
air, which is always
12. 12. It's 12 awards, I believe. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 12. I had to make sure I counted correctly. So next year, we already thought of a new one for next year. So we'll have a Baker's Dozen next year.
We had nominations for new categories from the Patreon, which is pretty cool in and of itself. So thank you for everyone who submitted a nomination. We will, there were, definitely some good call outs that I would not have come up with myself.
Before we get to that, I just want to throw a quick shout out to the playoffs, Ryan. The wild card rounds are complete, which is good to see. We had 3 elimination games on Thursday. The Tigers took down the Guardians in kind of easy fashion once they blew it open late. Cubs held on to beat the Padres, and Schlitt happens in the Bronx as Schlittler set rookie records against the rival Red Sox. And quotes after the game, Schlittler took it personal based on some things, I guess, Boston had been chirping at him. So we got a couple rivalries knocked off the books in the wild card rounds.
Did not see that. It was cool. I picked Schlittler yesterday in the meatball draft has resumed, and I started back in on the 12th round with Springer, and I took Schlittler in the 13th round. Really want those stats to count for next year, but obviously they won't. But awesome first round of wild card games. We had did you see the ESPN promo for NHL opening night?
I saw you guys talking about it in the Discord, but I did not see that go down.
ESPN runs an NHL opening night promo, and Ben McDonald, who's one of the color guys for, I think, the Cubs series, is like, 0 chance I'm going to watch that. It's like something we would say on a ESPN telecast. So there were plenty of good moments from the wild card. If the next round is anything like the wild cards was, it's going to be fun. So that's been awesome. Baseball Forecaster covers came out with nods to the Seattle Mariners with Cal Raleigh and the San Francisco Giants with Bryce Eldridge. So it's book season already. If you're interested in copies of those over at Baseball HQ.
Yep, looking pretty sweet. Last thing I'll mention is the divisional rounds start on Saturday. You got Tigers at the Seattle Mariners. We have the Yankees heading to Toronto. The Dodgers head to Philadelphia. Looking forward.
That's going to be, yes. And then
Cubs at Milwaukee. All 4 series are great. The National League just has you got some juggernauts taking place in those ones.
Cubs Brewers is going to be electric just because, I mean, they're so close to each other.
The close distance, those places are going to be packed.
So much more good viewing on the horizon for sure.
And, you've got your Mariners, so we'll have to look forward. I want to see something real quick. Looking at the schedule here. They do play next Tuesday at Game 3 in Detroit. We might have something to talk about on the show. Just guessing with that one.
Yeah, might get some live reactions on that one. That's probably going to be Game 3 or 4, something like that.
Game 3 Tuesday in Detroit. All right. Let's give the people what they want, Ryan. Not just our great faces and tuxedo T-shirts. Let's give out some awards here. Prestigious awards. Checks in the mail, folks. They'll be coming to you shortly with some new gear from Bubba and the Bloom, of course, because that's what all of these people want. The first award on the 2025 Bubba and the Bloomies, the Gomber. For those that don't remember Austin Gombers, everyone wanted to pick him up because he had a great streaming week and destroyed teams. Horrific starts, referred to now as the Gomber. Some of the nominations from the listeners, Ryan. Multiple nominations for Jesus Luzardo, Tanner Houck, Yusei Kikuchi, Jacob Lopez, Nestor Cortez, Justin Steele, Chase Burns, Jack Flaherty, that was so rude, Brandon Fott, Chris Paddock a few times, and Bailey Ober a few times. So, Ryan, we can talk about some of those, or you can go straight to your pick. One of my picks is there. So, who is your Gomber Award for 2025?
So I think, and I'll try not to go first for every single one of these to not steal your thunder. I think Luzardo is the most obvious choice, just because it was 20 earned runs in a 2-start span on May 31st and June 5th of this season. And it was just completely out of the blue. Jesus Luzardo was one of the best pitchers in baseball up until that 12 earned run outing, the first half of his Gomber. And then the second half was the other 8. The worst part of that is he was likely in your lineup for both of those, right? Just because Luzardo had pitched so well and probably widely benched. I mean, the thing here is the whipsaw. So after those 2 starts for Jesus Luzardo, it was 6 innings, 10 Ks, no walks, probably on everybody's bench because they thought that Luzardo was toast. So Luzardo's the most obvious to me. However, in the spirit of the award, the Gomber, I mean, Austin Gomber was like a fab pickup, and that stream did not go well. So like Jesus Luzardo obviously was not a fab pickup. So I'm going to kind of piggyback, not reverse, straight piggyback one of the nominations out there and go Jacob Lopez, who a couple times throughout the season as a fab pickup on May 29th at Toronto gave up 7 earned and an inning and 2/3 with no Ks. And then his last start of the season, late August, 9 earned runs as well, probably in your lineups and not a fab pickup then. But Jacob Lopez, for as well as he pitched at times this season, had a couple bad blowups. So those are kind of my 2, I guess, award winners for the Gomber.
Well, we're actually on the same page because I had Luzardo as my choice, but I actually pulled up Lopez's page while you were talking. So I'll add on to that. This was one of those I remember very clearly on one of our Fab shows early on where I'm like, look at this Jacob Lopez guy is pitching well. They're going on the road in Toronto. At this point in time, Toronto was not good. They were not the team we were experiencing towards the end of the season. And that inning and 2/3, 7 earned run start from Jacob Lopez was just damaging to everything. And not to mention it was a 2-step that week because then he went forward to third and allowed 5. So he allowed 12 runs in 6 innings that week. Did have 9 Ks at least with 2 walks, but absolutely destroyed you. But then there's the also, to your whipsaw point, absolutely filthy after that for quite a while. Like he was very, very good. So much so that we kept pumping him up. And you mentioned that Seattle start, which wouldn't have been Fab related. People were keeping him on the line most likely at that point. But he did rough you up there. But it was that 2-step, basically the Gomber is what that was.
Yep.
Where Jacob Lopez got you in a big, big way in a really good matchup against the Toronto Blue Jays and even a Minnesota Twins team, which was kind of on paper better at that time before they sold off the entire team, but still a team you could attack. It was back in Sacramento, though. But you wanted that start in Toronto. You wanted that 2-step after he had allowed a total of 4 earned runs in his first 5 starts, and that did not go well at all. So I'll take Jesus Luzardo just because it crushed, but in the nature of the award, as you say, as what the Gomber was, Jacob Lopez basically is the poster child for, hey, let's pick him up for this 2-step, and then boom goes the dynamite on that one.
Quick kind of side shout to Chris Paddock. I didn't realize this. This was the first start of the season for Paddock, and it was at the White Sox. So I remember we talk about this too. It's like at the end of kind of your late drafts in late March when you know the schedule. That's like you can draft your last few rounds as like a stream for that first weekend. And so maybe that does qualify for a Gomber because Paddock, given that matchup, the White Sox turned out to be better than we all thought they were going to be in 2025. But I know a lot of teams that drafted Paddock for that White Sox start. The opening weekend gave up 9 runs and 3 1/3. So that's a good low key shot. That's a deep cut. Some people still hurting from that one on opening day or opening weekend.
Yeah, that was a big one indeed. I do want to highlight one more as it's just open conversation, I guess an honorable mention. But remember when Chase Burns got called up and everyone's like, dude, 5 games, 3 earned runs, 8 Ks, let's get Chase Burns. Because at first when I saw this nomination, I'm like, why are we nominating Chase Burns?
I remember this. Yeah.
Then you pull up his page, game logs. Brian learned about this last episode. And you go to the start after he was called up, so now available in the NFBC. At the Boston Red Sox, Fenway Park, nostalgia, who knows? A third of an inning, faced 9 total batters, 5 hits, 7 runs, 5 earned, 1 homer, 2 walks, 0 strikeouts. That's good for a 135.00 ERA. That was an ultimate oh shoot. What just happened right there?
Yep. And that was not a Gomber like $20-$30 fab bid. Let's see how it goes. That was hundreds of dollars on Chase Burns. That was rough. I remember watching that one.
So yeah, that checks out. I don't have any Chase Burns, so I didn't really pay much attention to that, but that's the beauty of having all these nominations. You can kind of look back. So I'll take Luzardo. You take Lopez, it sounds like. Lopez is probably the actual, because I think last year we each had one and we tried to decide on the overall winner. I'll go with Jacob Lopez and the nature of the award as the actual winner of the 2025 The Gomber Award. All right, Ryan, would you like to preview the next award, which has been one that even before we had award shows, we called this was a thing we discussed on our show for a few years now.
Yeah, this has been a staple for years on the show. This is the Gene Segura Award. We did a whole episode on Gene Segura candidates in like the late summer when we're itching for content ideas for shows. But the Gene Segura Award, for those of you who are new to the show, is basically a set and forget hitter that you left in your lineup for too long. It's a guy that you drafted in not early, like not super early, because you're paying attention to those guys. If you got them late, you probably cut them. But those middle round guys, you think they're part of your team, and they just kind of coast under the radar. You look 6 weeks later, and they've done absolutely nothing for quite a while. So that's kind of the parameters of the Gene Segura Award. My pick is Brian Reynolds, who had consistent. And this is more of a personal pick too, because Reynolds was on a ton of my teams. He's the ultimate like Bloomfield, old, stable, consistent type. And I, obviously had Brian Reynolds in my lineup the entire season, played every day, 654 plate appearances. Brian Reynolds hit 245 with 16 home runs. Like, not really doing anything. And on a Pirates team, obviously, without many runs and RBIs. So Brian Reynolds was someone who I probably drafted 7th, 8th round. Thought I could just leave him in outfield and set and forget. And I did. And he did not reward me for that decision.
Yeah, people that listen to this show enough know my thoughts on Brian Reynolds. Only deepest of leagues can that boring vanilla tofu bat ever be rostered on a team. My guy, he had a bad year, but I don't think Brian Reynolds at least played for a team that scores runs. That allowed him to at least get 72 RBIs and 72 runs scored. But Nick Castellanos, people draft Nick Castellanos and go, dude, this guy's good. He's going to hit 25 home runs and combine for 180 runs and RBIs, whatever. Hit for a good average potentially. Dude hit 250, 17 home runs, 4 stolen bases. It got so rough for Nick Castellanos as the season went on, besides his bad attitude. He also started to get platooned to top things off. His second half alone, over 184 at-bats, 51 games in the second half of the season. Nick Castellanos hit 207 with 5 home runs, 1 stolen base, 29 runs scored, and 21 RBIs. His first half was not bad. Like, if he just duplicated his first half, we're getting somewhere. He didn't come close to that. He buried teams. And it was one of those to the point, like, if you're paying attention, you probably at least benched him. You probably didn't drop him. You probably benched him. But if you weren't paying attention, you're thinking, okay, it's Nick Castellanos. He's going to figure things out. And he never did. Like I said, to the point where he was getting platooned, sat, just it wasn't happening. So a lot of people just see that name and you're like, I'd rather have, 4 games of Castellanos than 4 games of like Brandon Marsh, his teammate. Not so much the case in this one. So to me, Nick Castellanos is quite the Gene Segura Award. Same team as well.
Yeah, same team at the end of Segura's career. So yeah, I like that, especially because the first half was good for Castellanos. So you just think you're good and you're going to coast. And I am guilty of having Castellanos in too long. I think in a 12. I think in the Vegas Listener League. No wonder I finished second to last. Other nominations for the Gene Segura Award. These are good. Ozzie Albies, Mason Wynn ×2, which is I just love to see that, given how much heat I took for my Mason Wynn fade earlier in the season. Brian Reynolds was a nomination. Nathaniel Lowe, Lawrence Butler, which is a good call.
That's a good one.
Gavin Lux did nothing, was a little bit, not a mid-round type guy, but yeah, did nothing. Marcus Semien. Ellie De La Cruz, very interesting nomination. Not quite like a true Segura, because Ellie De La Cruz, we all know how much he struggled. It wasn't really an under-the-radar struggle, but look at the last third of Ellie De La Cruz's season. It was rough. Jonathan India, very strong contender. Jonathan India had 567 plate appearances, hit .233 with 9 home runs and no steals, and played. He was hurt sometimes, but played every day when he was not hurt. Jonathan India is a good one. Ezekiel Tovar, 253, had 9 homers and 5 steals in 390 plate appearances for Ezekiel Tovar. And then last but not least, Adley Rutschman was another nomination from our listeners for the Gene Segura Award. So apologies to the listeners out there, given some PTSD if you drafted a bunch of these guys, but I'm with you all on at least some of those names as well.
So it comes down to this, Ryan. Do we go Brian Reynolds or Nick Castellanos?
I'll say Reynolds. I think Reynolds was crappier than at least Castellanos had a good first half.
I'll say Reynolds as well, because he was crappier than Castellanos and he still played every day, which gave people the reason to play him.
Yeah.
So
no, that's a good point.
I will go with Brian Reynolds as well on that one. And that makes me happy, since you wanted to jab at Mason Wynn. That makes me happy because you've known my thoughts on Brian Reynolds forever, so much so that you wouldn't take beer bets against Brian Reynolds. So that says a lot. I'll
draft him next year.
Oh, I have zero doubts about that. Zero doubts whatsoever about that.
Maybe I'll do draft on the wheel, take him in NOLA or something.
Oh man. The thing is, Reynolds, okay, I hate this already, but Reynolds is a guy I could see you getting for like $3 or $4 in an auction, and that seems appealing actually.
See?
So
glad you're coming around.
But that's a 15-team league. The Julian Merriweather Award. This goes out to the biggest fab bust. If you're new to the game, you probably don't know who this Julian Merriweather Award, why we're saying this, but we always talk about people paying for saves in the game of fantasy baseball. And Julian Merriweather looked like he was going to get the job really early in the season a couple years ago.
Yep.
No, not so fast, my friends. An injury took place, and boom, goes hundreds of fab dollars real quick. So when it comes to the biggest fab bust of 2025, seems pretty easy to me.
Yeah, easy. And I know this from personal experience. It's Jack Caglione. It has to be. So Jack Caglione was the second most expensive fab ad in main event leagues this season, pretty much any league. This is at an average spend in that 15-team main event of $283. So you blew more than a quarter of your budget. I mentioned last show I spent heavy on Jack Caglione, blew a third of my fab budget on him, and yeah, did absolutely nothing. Jack Caglione, I think, is the running away call, to the point where we probably need to mention some honorable mentions.
We will in a second. But when it comes to Cags, it's weird. He played AA and AAA this year, combined for 20 homers, 3 steals, hit .337 over 66 games in the minors, 10% walk rate, 19% K rate, gets to the bigs, 62 games in the bigs, 7 home runs, 1 steal, 157 batting average. Now the BABIP was much, much lower than we saw in the minor leagues with him. Still had a 12% barrel rate, 42.4% hard hit rate. So he's one of those guys, and we even talked about him at times, Ryan. It's like, okay, under the hood, people love that term. Things still look good with Cags. So at least I want to give him a little like upbeat. We'll talk more about him for 2026 and some upcoming episodes. But when it comes to the reality of what took place in 2025, when it comes to Fab, yes, it was dreadful for one Jack Caglione. Honorable mentions.
I appreciate you kind of listing out those numbers again, man. Just one last, twist in the knife, my stomach there. So I appreciate that.
Which part? The 157 batting average.
All right, let's move on. Honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions from the listeners. Zach Veen, that was a big one. People were like, when's he getting called? When's he getting called? It's like, well, maybe he shouldn't have been. Chase Dolander. Jordan Alvarez was a good one because we talked about it before the show. Is he was dropped by so many, and then it seemed like he was coming back, so people spent money on him, and then he never came back, and it was one of those games. And then the other one that was really close to Jack Cags, because we had 5 listeners nominate Cags, 4 listeners nominated Kyron Paris. Let's not forget Kyron Paris, who great spring training, burst onto the scenes out the gate, home runs, steals, average, you name it, and then it just gone, poof. And he never really got a chance to do it again. And he really struggled at AAA, too. I kept checking in on him for PT tomorrow. I think maybe he'll come up pretty soon. There was no reason to call him up pretty soon. Like, he was struggling there, too.
Yep.
I still like the skill sets of Paris. That's a whole other conversation. But Kyron Paris was very close to taking the Jack Cags. It's just Jack Cags that costs even more money, basically.
Yeah. Yep. So I posted the top 15 earlier on Twitter today. If you're not on there, didn't see it, I'll list this out. The top 15 most expensive is Nick Kurtz, number 1, average of $340. Obviously, he made that back in spades, was a top 50 overall player. Jack Cags was number 2. Number 3 was the Goose, Agustin Ramirez. That worked out. Chase Burns was number 4. I would argue that did not work out at all, given the Gomer we just talked about. And while he had some strikeouts, just didn't get many wins or any wins and got hurt. Ryan Weathers was number 3 back in May, on May 18th, $200 average spend. Not great. The Miz was number 6. Tony Gonsolin, number 7. Not great. Back on May 4th. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, I think I got a few Gonsolin shares, so I'm trying to forget about that as well. Yeah,
$166 on average for Tony Gonsolin on May 4th. Just did not remember that. Parker Meadows, betting on the injury rebound, June 8th was number 9. Yuri Perez, that worked out, average of 138. You were happy about that. Caleb Durbin, number 10, $122. That kind of worked out. Durbin that
worked out pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he had some low spots, but finished strong if you held on to him. So they probably call that a win. Also at $122, certainly not a win at all, was Ronnie Mauricio, who that was the same Fab weekend as Jack Cags.
I think, that's. I
remember the Caglione versus Ronnie Mauricio debate.
That's one of those where you look back and you go, "This is why I don't spend on young players." Then you forget there's the Nick Kurtz and the Gooses of the world. But
exactly. And just real quick to round it out, Chase Dolander, $120 was nominated. Will Vest, $120 back in April. That certainly worked out. Cade Horton, $119, the 14th most expensive on May 11th. That was a game changer if you fabbed Cade Horton for low hundreds. And then Marcelo Mayer, May 25th, $119 in 52 main event league. So that was your top 15 most expensive fab ads. Maybe 6-ish of those worked out.
Yeah, it just goes to show you that no rhyme or reason sometimes. Like most of those prospects, when they got called up, you had good reasons to spend the money, and it just didn't pan out in the bigs where the other ones did. So keep on grinding and hope you hit the right ones in the future. All right, you're up. What do we have for our next award here?
All right, next award is the Jack Flaherty Award. So usually we name these awards after like previous season stuff. So Jack Flaherty last season was a really good late round starting pitcher. And that's basically what this is. The best late round starting pitcher that we took in drafts. I guess I'll throw mine out. It's Matthew Boyd for me. Took a lot of Matthew Boyd, was not expecting, thought he'd be good on a per inning basis, was not expecting the volume from Matthew Boyd. And you could argue it was maybe a little bit too much volume the way that Matthew Boyd ended the season, but on the whole, on the year, 14 wins for Matthew Boyd, which I just listened to the Baseball HQ end of season roundtable on HQ radio. Ray Murphy said, I think there were 6 starting pitchers with 15 plus wins this season, only 6. So like 14 wins doesn't sound like crazy for Matthew Boyd, but that's tied for 7th in Major League Baseball. 3.21 ERA, 109 WHIP. Ended poorly, but awesome season from someone at an ADP in the low 300s.
Yeah, that's great, especially the ADP that you mentioned. My pitcher had an ADP of like 235, and it's kind of funny since we talked about him as potentially a Gomber, but I'm going back to Jesus Luzardo.
Okay, double award winner.
Well, he didn't get the first award. We gave it to Jacob Lopez. He was
That's
a
true.
finalist. He was a finalist. But it goes to show you just how good Luzardo was for that ADP. Like you can't say, well, what if I didn't get those 2 starts? And hopefully you didn't lose on the good ones you mentioned too. But if you look at the entire season from Luzardo, he made 32 starts, which was a question of how many innings would he go. He had a 3.92 ERA, which is absolutely outstanding to go, which was supported by a 3.40 Sierra, which was very, very good. Dude pitched 183 and 2/3 innings. He had 57 walks and 216 strikeouts for a 21% K to walk. Like we talk about guys, I know one of the things I emphasize in the preseason, Ryan, is like I want strikeouts. That's why I like Cease. That's why I like Rodon. That's why I kind of like Luzardo. I didn't think he'd get to this level, but I'm like, okay, there's upside here at the ADP. So it's one of those things like you might not have got all the starts. You might have definitely got the bad ones. You might have missed a few. So maybe your ERA is like 4.4 with him or something, but you still got close to probably 190 strikeouts with Jesus Luzardo, which at an ADP at 235, he's like your SP 6 or 7, 8. That's amazing. Like that, you don't find that anywhere in drafts. And I think he's electric. I'm going to have to do some soul searching to see if he can back this up because that's a gigantic jump in innings compared to his injury-riddled seasons. But that's, again, another conversation for another day. But when it comes to late round starting pitchers, for me personally, for my fantasy teams, Jesus Luzardo was a major factor on a lot of those teams.
Listener nominations for the Jack Flaherty Award for Best Late Round Starting Pitcher: Nick Lodolo. Chris Bubich got 4 nominations from our listeners. Andrew Abbott, which could do half the podcast on Andrew Abbott, but we won't. Matthew Boyd got 2. Lucas Giolito. Nate Eovaldi, 5 nominations. I guess I didn't consider him a late round.
Eovaldi's on a lot of these.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he is a legend, so let's give him his proper. Even if he may not have been a late round starting pitcher, I will always be happy for a Nate Eovaldi mention. Jesus Luzardo, Ryan Nelson, Merrill Kelly, Quinn Priester. Shout out to Quinn Priester. And then last but certainly not least on our nomination list, Trevor Rogers, best late round SP. Rogers was a top 5 starting pitcher in the second half of the season.
So now it goes Matthew Boyd versus Jesus Luzardo. I guess on the player rater, Luzardo was the 31st pitcher. Boyd was the... Why are we not going to Matthew Boyd on my sheet
18th?
Here? Okay, I don't know why it would go. Okay, so I guess if we just go by player rater alone, Matthew Boyd wins the award on this.
Yeah, one. He finished higher and then Luzardo and 80 picks later. So,
yeah. All right. Matthew Boyd is your Jack Flaherty Award winner that neither one of us will draft in 2026.
What are you talking about? I just drafted Matthew Boyd.
Oh, you said like 2 weeks ago you're not going to draft him.
I'm back in. I just took him in the meatball, man.
Oh, man. I was busy today. I'm sad I missed that.
I took him in the 17th round. I'll take him 17th round.
Yeah,
Come
that's
on.
Not horrible. That's not horrible.
Not horrible. Yeah, like literally an hour ago, I just drafted him.
Well, I was busy writing nominations on the sheet. The Supreme Slice Award for the most valuable catcher. We have the award because catchers matter on this show, but that doesn't really matter this year. First, I'll say the honorable mentions that were given by the listeners are Hunter Goodman, who deservedly so, and the Goose, Agustin Ramirez, deservedly so. But I think it's pretty simple. Not a lot of discussion needs to be made here. The biggest, most important value at catcher this year was one big dumper himself, Cal Raleigh.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. It's kind of a generic award, but we do catchers matter, so we will keep this as a staple for the show. But yeah, those 3 guys. I'm glad Goodman and Agustin Ramirez got some credit because damn, those guys paid off.
Yes, they did indeed. So that leads to you again with basically, it's not the mascot award, but it's named after the mascot.
Yeah. So this is the Luis Rengifo Award for the best multi-position player. And I tried to really go for with my pick, someone who like not just, I don't know, not like first, third, or got like eligibility in the middle of the season. So they end up with all these positions, but someone back on draft day who we would have considered a mascot pick. And we screwed this up, man. We took Willie Castro as our preseason mascot. So we will both take the L for that. The guy we should have taken is one who I called the off-brand mascot, which just slap in the face, but
it's a good one.
Maikel Garcia turned out to be, and it is my pick for the Luis Rengifo Award. Maikel Garcia qualified at second and third base, which is huge in season. Picked up shortstop, won't get it next year. And actually, next year Maikel Garcia is third base only.
Yep,
if I'm seeing this correctly. So
that's correct because I drafted him. So yes.
So RIP to this may be Maikel Garcia's last moment in the sun here for the Luis Rengifo Award, but hit 287, 16 home runs, 23 stolen bases, 666 plate appearances for Garcia. That's huge, especially when we're talking about that mascot award. It's like draft and hold season. You're trying to get someone that qualifies everywhere, and Maikel Garcia not only did that, but did so rather productively, which isn't a word, but Maikel Garcia is my pick.
I love the pick. Love Miguel Garcia. Love the off-brand mascot for that. It's like we'll get to nicknames later. That's a great nickname for him as well. The guy I'm taking was taken 260 picks after Miguel Garcia.
Whoa.
A player that I discussed in draft and hold formats. A player that I picked up early. A player that eventually everyone picked up.
No,
that's Lenyn Sosa.
Okay.
Who did you think I was going with?
EC.
No, not for this award. He's very worthy, but no. I want to give Lenyn Sosa some love. Dude at 264, 22 homers, 2 stolen bases, 75 RBIs, which is, I don't know what's more impressive, the homers or the RBIs, probably the homers, but still, you know what I'm trying to get my point across with Sosa. Very, very impressive. 25 years old, first base, second base, and third base for one Lenyn Sosa. Prior to the season, he played 100 games last year, and he hit 8 home runs, 3 steals, he hit 254. So he played 140 games this year, 22 homers. Like, everything was great. His improvements in his barrels, his hard hit was pretty close, but his barrel rate went up. If you look at X stats, they say he underachieved, which is impressive to see as well. So I'm going to go with Lenyn Sosa, a guy that should be a staple in that lineup again next year, an improved White Sox lineup. Still not great, but improved. And the fact he was free, absolutely free. He's a free agent, essentially, but turned into a very valuable piece, especially with that flexibility. I'm going to go with one Lenyn Sosa. And to your point with Maikel Garcia, let me see real quick where he actually will be playing next year. He is eligible at second base. He is eligible at first base. So he'll be first and second next year, which will keep him on this board for the future.
Yes, it will. Deep cut. Thought was on the trajectory for a potential Luis Rengifo Award. Was early AL Player of the Week back in April. Dylan Moore. Come on.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
My man was on track.
You can't quit him.
He went 6 weeks with like 1 hit. So, and then I think DFA'd and the Rangers picked him up. So that's just me trying to get under your skin, Bubba. Nominations for the Luis Rengifo Award: Jazz Chisholm, certainly, not only great season but doing it multiple positions. Lenyn Sosa got nominated twice. Maikel Garcia twice. EC Light, Ernie Clement twice. I think that's just to try and get at me. But
our listeners are great, by the way. Great listeners.
Yeah, they are. They like to pick on me, which I'm cool with. Hunter Goodman, Zach McKinstry, and Caleb Durbin were listener nominations for the Luis Rengifo Award. And yeah, man, one of our objectives for 2026 offseason, we need to get better at our mascot pick for next year. If we even do one, maybe we shouldn't force it. I don't know.
We shouldn't force it, but if we do, I have an idea for one that's not even mentioned here, but I'll save that for down the road. I guess what it comes down to here is it Lenyn Sosa or Maikel Garcia, especially if you consider the 260 pick difference. Lenyn Sosa earned $7.40, while Maikel Garcia earned a lot more. He earned $17. He had $10 more, 260 picks later.
I would say Garcia, but that's why I picked him. I think he was just a game changer.
Yeah.
Michael Cicchini says Lennon Sosa bailed me out in a narrow DC win. Congrats, Michael. Drafted Jimenez. Need a never again award. That's
a good award too.
Let me write that down for next year.
Yeah, we might have 14 awards now next year. But all right, I guess I'll give you Miguel Garcia for this one. But Lennon Sosa helped me tremendously this year. How many shares of Miguel Garcia did you have?
I think I had 2, both draft and holds, and it was immensely valuable, especially when he got first base.
Yeah, I had where'd Sosa go? Yeah, I had 6 Lennon Sosa shares. So all right, Miguel Garcia it is. Let's go to the Nick Pivetta Award. Starting pitcher with great skills, but results don't add up. Really great list from everybody here. The one that I'm going to mention is just full tilt mode. It's biased to my heart, is Dylan Cease. We talked about him so often between live bloom boards and just like, this doesn't make sense. Like, he still got the strikeouts, ratios crush you. He's nominated for another award coming up as well. So let's not get too quick yet. But dude had a 26.7% K to walk in was the postseason, 19.9% in season. It's 20.9 the year before. 19.9 is like tied for third best in his career. But he had a 1.33 whip, which was just dreadful because of a 9.8% walk rate. But what I did love about him, still made 32 starts. It's been 32, 33, 30. So he's been a machine making the starts year in and year out. And he had another 215 Ks, which gives him 5 straight strikeout seasons. It's just one of those, like, he's got the ERA of 4.55, Sierra's 3.58. Like, that's a full run. That's a massive difference in what should be taking place there. It's like we talked about him a million times. He's got the BABIP this past year. Was not the friendliest. It was a 3.20 BABIP, which was the second worst of his, or third worst of his entire career. Second worst since his 30-plus start streak. It just seems like, he ran as horrible as he could possibly run with like the same skills he's always had.
I'm back in. I don't even say back in because I wasn't in on Cease this season, but yeah, I'm back in on Cease next year. I think if you can bank those strikeouts and kind of play the variance game with ratios, I think Cease is, can't deny that volume at all. My nomination is someone who top 40 pitcher by both strikeout minus walk rate and Sierra, which is the skills independent ERA. Basically based on your strikeouts, your walks, like how good should you have been. This is a top 40 guy by both of those measures. This is somebody who has pitched 190 plus innings each of the previous 3 seasons, got a little bit hurt this season, so didn't really get there. This is also somebody who has 195 plus strikeouts the previous 4 seasons, and did not pitch well on the surface. This person is Aaron Nola. He is my nominee for the Nick Pivetta Award.
You gonna elaborate at all? Or...
I just did.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted to. That's your
why.
guy.
Yeah, for all the reasons I just mentioned.
Is this because Steve Weimer took him? So now you're back in,
this
or
is all? Everything I said was true, factual numbers, and that's what I look at. So yes, Aaron Nola was just selected at the 16-17 round turn in our meatball draft by Steve Weimer. That doesn't factor into why I nominated Nola, but I'm in, man. If it's a 17th round price on Aaron Nola next season, let's go. Let's do it.
All right. Some other nominees for this award is Gavin Williams, twice. We mentioned Dylan Cease, Tanner Bybee, Logan Gilbert, Zebby Matthews, Bailey Ober. Ober's a good one too. Ben Brown, Sonny Gray, Bryce Miller. All really, really good nominations. Zebby Matthews is also a good one. We've talked about him a lot.
Yeah.
Especially as the season went on. The K to walk was still pretty darn good. He would have his walk problems from time to time. And it seemed like he was getting kind of BABIP once in a while. So the results never kind of resembled where he went. Plus, he would get in the walk issues, which would prevent him from going deep into the games, which was a thing that the Twins did with him. But towards the end of the year, Zebby Matthews was getting much better, which has me intrigued for this upcoming season with Zebby Matthews. Anybody else you'd like to discuss before we give Dylan Cease the award?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I will not agree to Aaron Nola at all. There's no chance.
Yeah, we can give the award to Dylan Cease.
Okay, thank you. I'm like, no, we are not doing that. Especially with the next award we have, Ryan. Would you like to lead us into that one?
The next award is the Aaron Nola Award for early starting pitcher who destroyed your ratio.
Perfect name.
I did not plan it to be that way, but
that's why I was like, yeah. And he's nominated for this, actually.
Here's my nomination. And actually, the next award that says how shitty he's been is named after him. So, yeah. So this is the SP that destroyed your ratio is the worst. This is, for me, this is Bailey Ober, actually. So it was nominated last time out, but Bailey Ober for me was just a true disaster. Someone who you took as certainly an SP2, maybe an SP1 if you waited on pitching, and you got 27 starts of a 5.10 ERA, 130 whip. I'm not going to just keep throwing out numbers, but like it was absolutely terrible to the point where if you drafted Bailey Ober, he was such a negative to your pitching staff that it's almost hard to. We talk about like league winners. This was a league loser. It was very difficult to have a great staff if you have Bailey Ober on your team, because you did not bench, like maybe towards the end, right before the IL stint in whatever August, because they finally said the hip is no good and we're going to shelve Bailey Ober. But pretty much up until then, you were rolling with Ober every week. And God, it was really bad.
That is a great call. For me, is one that I've had personally struggled with early in the season to the point where I ended up dropping him. Kept him in some 15s where he kind of helped me as the season came to an end. But that is Zach Gallen. He did pay a decent price for, I would say, if I'm looking at ADPs here from the player rater. Zach Gallen had an ADP of 119, so it wasn't free. He made 33 starts with a 4.83 ERA, which got you. And plus, you were hoping for strikeouts. That didn't really. At 175 Ks, 192 innings. Not going to do it with Zach Gallen. And the reason like you picked Zach Gallen is he had an ERA of 3.65 or better for 3 straight years and 5 out of 6 seasons. So you expected that to come your way. Not to mention a whip. A whip's not been his strongest point, but you're hoping for 1.2 or below as 1.26. It was basically the ERA just destroyed you with Zach Gallen. It's one that he had some horrific starts. Maybe not quite Ober-esque early on, but it was bad to the point, and people kept pitching him, like you said with Ober, and there was no injury. We're just going to keep throwing him out there because it's Zach Gallen and it's going to work. And he crushed some teams because he was probably an SP2 or 3 on a lot of rosters. And those are the hard ones to just drop off, similar to Ober. Agreed. Yep. So I'm going to go with Zach Gallen because he's another guy that people were just like, oh, he's going to figure it out. He's going to figure it out. And he, unlike Ober, would give you like one decent start and you'd be like, okay, he's back. And then it was like 3 more just bombs again with Zach Gallen.
Yeah, you had the some in the middle, it was against your Giants, July 1st, 10 strikeouts, 7 innings, 1 run, no walks. Like you'd get these random gems from Gallen, and that just keeps him in your lineup for 3 more disasters. So I like that one. I did not have any Zach Gallen, but plenty of Ober. So that was rough. Other nominations, Sonny Gray, which is a good one. That he should be really a Pivetta Award. He was nominated on the Pivetta Award. Skills were awesome for Sonny Gray. Just results weren't there. Dylan Cease times 5. So that seems to be a popular pick. You say Kikuchi, that's a good pick. George Kirby times 2. Aaron Nola to win the Aaron Nola Award. I think Ben Tidd was one of those nominations.
Yes, it was.
Bailey Ober, Zach Gallen, and Sandy Alcantara are listener nominations for the Aaron Nola Award. I think it's Ober though.
Yeah, I can go with Ober. Ober's fine. It was disastrous with Ober and him getting hurt. Like, you don't want to see people get hurt, but it actually was nice because it made it easy to just kind of like move on from that one. Yeah. Cue the Trumpets Award. This was named after the Edwin Diaz season where the Trumpets were playing, one of the most electric things on TV ever because Ryan and I never got to see it in person, but it was just, I remember seeing it on Twitter the next morning, and I'd turn it on and like in my truck, turn up the volume. It was just cool. It was what baseball and sports, live sports, is all about. So the Cue the Trumpet Award is the most valuable relief pitcher during the 2025 season. And value could be because they got a bunch of saves. Value could be because you drafted them late and they panned out. Lots of interesting ways to go about this. And honestly, it was mainly 3 nominations from the listeners that checked out here. And I'm gonna go with the Aroldis Chapman. I'm gonna go with the listeners here. I'm gonna kind of jump on it. It was nominated 7 times by the listeners. Aroldis Chapman was a guy that some were like, nah, we don't know if he's going to close because there was rumors of other potential closers there. Like once they signed him, it felt like he was going to close, but it was also like, could they do a committee? How good was Aroldis Chapman actually going to be? Because with the Pirates the year before, he had 14 saves once Bednar fell apart, but still had a 3.79 ERA. Strikeouts have always been legit, but there's questions. He hadn't had a 30 save season since 2021. Picked up 32 saves this year with an insane 1.17 ERA and 0.7 WHIP to go with a near 31% K to walk. Like all those numbers at where you drafted Chapman as an RP2, hopefully not an RP3, but it may be if you're crazy with your drafting. He returned insane value.
And the ratios were so good. Like I'll repeat that. A 1.17 ERA, a 0.7 WHIP. The ratios are so good. Like normally you just kind of draft closers for saves, maybe get some high strikeout guys. Like those were so good that actually made a dent on your pitching staff over just 61 innings for Chapman. So I agree. Chapman's the move. I'll give a kind of an honorable mention shout out to Emilio Pagan, who was not drafted really at all until the end of draft season, ended up getting 32 saves with some decent, like it wasn't just all like fluky. 81 strikeouts for Pagan. Like that's only four fewer than Chapman. 0.92 WHIP and a 2.88 ERA from someone who you basically got for free. So Emilio Pagan, anyone who scooped him up, and hell, you could have drafted both Chapman and Emilio Pagan, and there's your don't pay for saves evidence for 2026 right there, is getting 2 absolute studs for very little cost on draft day. So
yeah, Pagan was outstanding. That was a good call you mentioned before the show. Like how was he not nominated? And he was, like you said, free agent on that one. The other nominees, Carlos Estevez, nominated 4 times. Great one as well, because he got signed late to the Royals and knocked off Lucas Hirsch, even though some still thought he'd be there. And Estevez kept it all year and got you 30 plus saves in that one. Andres Munoz, your boy, was a monster. He had 4 nominations. And then we had a Solds. Like if you just look at overall late in reliever saves and holds.
I like this. Yep.
Abner Uribe was filthy. And I remember like on our Fab shows, Ryan, for a long time, I'm like, if you want to speculate on saves, if anything ever happens to Trevor McGill, Uribe's the guy you want. You know, just like a continual, this is why. And the ratio is 1.67. The whip's 104, 21% K to walk, over 30% K rate. He was filthy as well. So good honorable mention to Abner Uribe.
Yep, I like it. Shout out to the saves, or to the Solds crowd as well, for sure.
All right, this could be the Ryan Bloomfield Award. This could be Because Bubba's Old Award. This is yours, Ryan. So what do you got?
So this is a new category for this season. This category is the King of the Olds. You know, we all know I love drafting olds. I got a ton of crap for drafting what many said was the oldest team of all time in labor mix this season. Turned out quite well. I'm going to victory lap.
Both can be true. Both can be true.
Both can be true. That is correct. The king of the olds for 2025, I think, has to be George Springer, right? I mean, I'll just list the stat line real quick, but 309 batting average, 32 homers, 18 steals. He could be a nominee for most random breakout, which was one of our last categories. But George Springer, using that old man strength, that old man power at the age 36 season to be able to do this, it was damn impressive, especially on the heels of like really nothing special from George Springer lately. Like last 24, Springer hit 218. 18 homers, 16 steals. So like that was good, but just did not see a near 100-point jump in batting average, almost the same strikeout rate, which is more of a 2026 takeaway, but that's interesting. But yeah, what George Springer did 2025 was just remarkable.
Yeah, it's tough to debate that one. He was absolutely insane. Helped me on a couple teams to at least compete. I'm questioning what to do with him in 2026.
I drafted him.
I get it. I looked at him a couple times before you got him, but I get it. So I'm going to mention a different player because it was between these two players. I knew you'd pick Springer, so I picked another one for at least conversation's sake. And it's just me taking my L again, like I've taken before. But Jacob deGrom is like insanely worthy. We kept saying, what if he throws just 100 innings? Like all these conversation points. Last year, he threw 10 and 2/3, 30 and 1/3, 64, 92, 68. Those are his inning totals in the last 5 seasons. This season, Jacob deGrom threw 172 and 2/3 innings with a 2.97 ERA. He made 30 starts for the first time since 2019. He had a .92 whip to go with that 2.97 ERA and a 22% K to walks for 185 Ks and 172 and 2/3 innings. Dude's 37 years old. And so it's a combination of things. It's a guy that hasn't had the workload in forever, coming off the Tommy Johns. Plus, he's old as heck to go out there and just deal again. Like, it's a combination of things you just don't see very often. And it's not like he just made 172 innings out there. He was an ace, pretty much, through the 100. It's like he's a top, to me, if you believe the age is not an issue, which it probably is, he's a top 5 pitcher going into 2026. Like, he's that good. So I'm going to mention Jacob deGrom, even though the answer is George Springer.
Imagine how high deGrom would have been drafted if before the season we knew he would make 30 starts. Like, he'd be a first-round guy.
He'd be up there in the skiing scuba discussion, yes.
Yeah, so just wild, random. I'm not going to, we could talk about deGrom a bunch, but I'm not going to overreact too much to it. And I'm probably going to be lower on deGrom than you will be next season, but that's fine. We're talking about 25, and that was damn impressive what Jacob deGrom did. Other nominations. So Springer got 7, deGrom got 3 from our listeners. Aroldis Chapman was a King of the Old nomination. Nate Eovaldi, that man again, and Zach Wheeler were also nominated for as Kings of the Old. They're in the King's Court, at least, as nominees.
All right, one of the awards, I like all the awards, obviously, but you always got to pick your favorite kid. The Best Show Nickname Award is just fitting for us because I think I don't want to speak for the listeners, but we've talked to many of them now, and they kind of like the banter between us, the just kind of, I guess, lightheartedness, like fun we have on the show to go with the analysis. And a part of that is the best show nicknames. As good or as dumb as they are, especially myself, I will throw them out and just see what sticks throughout the season. And we have a decent amount of nominated ones. We probably missed a bunch as well. I wrote a bunch down. So before we pick our winners, this is just a list of potential nicknames, Ryan, for the listeners. Ryan, go for the gusto. Jake Mangum style. The good doctor, Calvin Fauché.
Because we thought it was pronounced Foucher.
Yes.
Just some context on that one.
Clean your sheets, Gavin Sheets. Clean the sheets. I'm just going to say Sean Manaea, Clay Holmes. You guys can figure that one out. Better Call Saul Frank. Mookie Blaylock. The country artist formerly known as Colt Keith. The pitcher with 2 names, Chad Patrick. There's probably many more, but these are just a few that stuck out to us. So, Ryan, I'll give you the floor because I have it narrowed down to 3. It should just be a unanimous 1. It really should for the purpose of this show. And I'm not talking about the reverse piggyback. What is your winner for the best nickname of 2025?
So I'm going to go, and I mean, some background behind this, but like and everyone who listens regularly to the show, like at some point during the show, Bubba, you bring up somebody who I've never heard of. And it's like, okay. I mean, I follow the sport pretty damn closely, but there's just so many minor leaguers, whatever. Right? So it's just, I remember we were going through like the 2-star pitchers. We're looking at the RotoWire grid and they just list last names. And that's risky because you're like, who are these guys? And we're going through Colorado and you just say Blaylock. And I'm like, no idea who that is. So I just go with Mookie Blaylock, like a 60-year-old NBA retired player who I didn't even know was, like, I thought he might have been dead, which is bad.
Is he alive?
Yeah, like, is he alive? Mookie Blaylock is alive.
We looked it up on air that night.
Yes, we looked it up on air. For me, it's Mookie Blaylock, just because of the like, let's just give this guy a first name because all we see on the screen is Blaylock, and I have no idea. I know he pitches for Colorado. I'm never going to roster him, but I see his name is Blaylock. Let's just go with Mookie. What is his name? Brian Blaylock?
Actually looking at
Matt Blaylock.
Oh goodness, Bradley Blaylock. Bradley Blaylock, BB.
No, man, he's Mookie.
What gets even better with this one, because this is, again, we love our listeners. There was someone keeping track of who had more home runs this year between Mookie Blaylock and Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts hit 20 home runs this season over 150 games, 663 at bats. Bradley Blaylock over 58 and 2/3 innings. That's it. Allowed 17 home runs. So he almost beat Mookie Betts in the home run competition. And that started on our Discord. I think it was the franchiser. I can't remember who it was now. I apologize. Came up with that one. And I'm just like, that is awesome.
Oh God. Oh man.
Paul the chat.
Chasko, Michael
driver.
Chasko in the Discord. Michael Chasko was our counter.
The bus driver was another good one for Otto Lopez.
Yeah, for Otto. Yeah, the bus driver, of course. That's a classic.
So this is really tough for me. I love all of these. I think I have the most fun with Jake Mangum style. Like you've even admitted that's a good one for me. That was good.
Yeah.
I don't know how we don't pick the Good Doctor.
Yeah.
We've had so much use out of that one. Like so much use out of that one for the sarcasticness behind it, or is he closing? Is he not closing? Like it was used probably more than any other nickname the entire season. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with the Good Doctor, Anthony Fauché.
To the point where, like in the Discord, when Fauché gets a save, it's like, oh, the doctor's back open for business, and then he'd pitch like the 7th inning the next day, like doctor's out of the office today. It was. Yeah, I think that might be the best, because it also, I mean, similar to the Blaylock thing, it also stems from me not knowing who the hell these guys are and calling him Foucher.
Yeah, we actually thought it was Foucher too. Was the worst part until like we
find out like a month later it's like a French name. It's like too late now. The Hog is also another one.
Yes, the Hog, Gunnar Hoagland. That is a good one. The Hog, yes.
Gunnar Hoagland, who, I mean, that didn't turn out, so it's hard. Like, that's a great nickname, but you gotta, I mean, Gunnar Hoagland
to have a nickname like the Hog. A great stat line from Mookie Blaylock as well, at 350, 405, 597 slash. I'm going to leave that on the board for a minute because I'm going to look up Mookie Betts and see where that could.
Oh, that's definitely higher than Mookie Betts. That's the slash line that Mookie Blaylock gave up, 350, 405, 596.
Yes. Mookie Betts, 258, 326, 406. So, yeah, Mookie just destroyed, Mookie Blaylock destroyed Mookie Betts on that one.
Oh, man.
But I'm going to give it to Fauché. Do you have any, the Good Doctor? Are we good with that?
No objections there. The Good Doctor.
I think that's only fair.
That's another certificate to hang in the doctor's office next to his degrees.
Yep. All right. Last award, Ryan. The floor is yours.
Oh, man. John Birdie Award. The most random breakout of 2025. So, yeah, the thought here, obviously, John Birdie went nuts for like 2-3 months a couple years ago and just pretty much totally out of the blue. This is someone where, like, I don't know. You just looking back, you still don't know how or why that breakout happened. For me, it is Trent Grisham. Yes. Like, I have no idea how Trent Grisham hit, I think, 35 home runs and became the Yankees' pretty much everyday leadoff hitter after. I mean, I guess Trent Grisham's not old yet. This was Trent Grisham's age 28 season, but we had a pretty solid, like 2,300 career plate appearance sample of who Trent Grisham was. And he was not that this year. Trent Grisham was absolutely awesome. 87 runs scored, like only at 235 with 3 steals, but the power and the runs, RBI were there. So Trent Grisham is my one where it's just like, I haven't taken a deep dive or whatever. It's like, what did I miss with Trent Grisham? I'm pretty sure it's just like, I throw up my hands and say, that's just random. Like, I'm not going to learn anything from this.
Yeah, I'm with you. I kept tweeting stuff out throughout the year. Like every time he hit like another 5 home run milestone, like, do we believe this is actually happening right now? It's crazy what he did. We kept one Jason Dominguez to play. Trent said no, basically. And it was very, very impressive. A very good honorable mention was Geraldo Perdomo. Like, that probably should be the winner, but I'm not going there. More so because he's 25, and it's like, yes, it's a gigantic jump, but these are jumps you can see with younger players potentially. Like, still an insane season for Perdomo. Not going to knock that. I liked Grisham a lot. I'm going to go to your guy, Trevor Rogers.
Oh, okay.
This I did. No one can tell you they saw this coming. If they do, they are a liar. They need to go see the good doctor. Trevor Rogers made 18 starts, 109 2/3 innings, a 1.81 ERA for Trevor Rogers. 3.78 6 ERA makes more sense, but still darn good with what he did. The more impressive part, like every time I had to write him up for matchups or whatever, is before his 6-run blow up in his final appearance of the year in the Bronx, his first 17 starts, Trevor Rogers allowed 3 earned runs or less in every single start. That is about as reliable as you can find in the game of baseball. It's just I don't know how he did it. I really don't. It was a massive improvement. They started him out in the minors. They brought him up after some tweaking. Things went great. He had a 2.64 ERA in 2021. Otherwise, he's been above 4 in his 4 other seasons in baseball. Like, he just took a dramatic jump this year, and took him in the meatball. So hopefully,
going to add with your first pick on the restart
in round 11. So yeah, I'm going to go Trevor Rogers because I did not see this coming at all. But it's also a 27-year-old new organization. They might have tweaked some things and see where it goes. Because like in my brain, even if he throws a 3.7 ERA like his Sierra indicates, I'll take it.
Yeah, I obviously did not expect this. I actually drafted Trevor Rogers in one of my draft and holds, which I have no idea why I did that, but I'm glad I did. The only thing I kind of don't even push back on, like it's a good nomination. Like, I think we can look back on Trevor Rogers and be like, okay, this is someone who's still young, who has been good. Like you mentioned that 2021 season and on a new team. And it's like, I can kind of squint and maybe build a bloom board for 2026 of guys who are under 30 years old, have had one good season, and are going, 500 plus ADP. Like, I feel like I could, and is on a new team or something. Like, I feel like I could kind of use those parameters and maybe get a decent 2 or 3 options to get in 2026. Whereas like a Grisham, I'm just like, I mean, I don't know how I would have ever saw this. So I don't know. Trevor Rogers certainly is a good pick. Perdomo, the same thing too. Like, I guess he's young, signed that big contract with the Diamondbacks before the season, but I don't put too much stock into that because, I mean, defense is really good. So I don't really saw how that one would come. So a lot of good options here for sure.
Yep. What are some of those other options?
So the other listener nominations were Trent Grisham ×2, Geraldo Perdomo by ×7. So pretty much the overwhelming leader there. Kyle Stowers got nominated twice, which I can see if you look at like just what Kyle Stowers has not been able to do. It's interesting. Kyle Stowers was traded for Trevor Rogers in last year. So that was a Dave Petrozello nomination. I'm 99% sure was Kyle
Dave
Stowers
and Rob DiPietro. Those are
and
the
Rob
two
D. Okay,
Stowers.
excellent. Ramon Laureano, fully on board with that as just a random 2025 breakout. I remember we recommended Laureano on the Fab show, but mostly just because of playing time in deep leagues, and he turned out to be a lot better than that. Bryce Terang, Trevor Rogers, and Joe Adell on the nomination list for most random breakout, and Ernie Clement.
Thank you for making sure you said that one out loud. I'm going to go with Trent Grisham. I'll give it to you. The guy said it was between him and Rod. I told you I'd pick whichever one you didn't. So, Trent Grisham, 34 home runs. Like, what in the world was going on there? So, I'm with you on that. To recap, here are your 2025 Bubba and the Bloomies winners. For the Gomber, Jacob Lopez. For the Gene Segura Award, Brian Reynolds. Julian Mayweather Award, Jack Kaggs. Jack Flaherty Award, Matthew Boyd. Supreme Slice, Cal Raleigh. The Luis Rengifo Award to Mikel Garcia. The Nick Pavetto Award to Dylan Cease. Aaron Nola Award to Bailey Ober. Cue the trumpets for Aroldis Chapman. King of the Olds goes to George Springer. Best show nickname goes to the good doctor, Calvin Fauché. The John Birdie Award goes to Trent Grisham. That was a blast. That is, the awards will be in the mail. Got to get them engraved for you, so give me some time there. But they'll be coming out.
We'll get the engraver. They are all invited to the Bubba and the Bloomies after party, so we'll see them. Hopefully, if any of them show up, about 30 minutes time here.
Yes, but any final thoughts? Another great awards season, another great fantasy baseball season. It's almost 2026 time, buddy.
Yeah, no, just appreciate all the listener nominations. That was fun. Certainly a ton of names that I did not think of. So just fun way to kind of look back at a little bit of a different angle of the season that was, which we're going to continue to do. I don't know. What are we doing next week?
I'm pretty sure we're getting close to positional, some recaps of some
Want to get into those position recaps.
Yeah, I think it's coming soon.
I feel like we're starting those soon. I feel like we did something else. I don't know. We'll talk about it, but
yep.
But yeah, as we said and actually, I mean, the other thing I was going to say too is just it was cool to see everyone kind of, enjoy the new logo. We both kind of made some posts on Twitter about how, it's symbolic of us just keep going on with the show, investing back into the show. So it was cool to hear from everybody who reached out and said, hey, like the logo and that sort of thing, but also appreciate what we did this year. So we will keep on keeping on.
Yes, indeed. And with that being said, first off, thank you all for listening. Thanks for participating in the show. And we'll be back with you guys next week with more Bubba and the Bloom action for your fantasy baseball needs. But until then, check out Ryan on the Twitter at RyanBHQ, the podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod, and on Patreon at patreon.com/Bubba Bloom. I'm on Twitter at BDintric. And until next time, this was Bubba and the Bloom episode 282, your 2025 Bubba and the Bloomies. Catch y'all next time.